guys, Dave Meter 1, 2, and 2, and it's list day! Now, like I said before, 2016 was a pretty good year for Yu-Gi-Oh!, but it wasn't perfect. There has been some pretty lousy cards that were released this year. So Ryan, Marin, and I decided to compile all the worst cards that have come out in the main sets of the game. Now, we excluded the Hidden Arsenal style sets and the movie pack, even though it had that awful Dark Magician Search card where you give your opponent a card. It's, ew. Mostly because no one talks about the bad cards. They talk about the good cards, so compiling a list of good cards is actually pretty easy because they're pretty well known. But because the bad cards really tend to fly under the radar, the three of us had to pretty much sit down and read every card that came out in all the main sets of the game, so in order to kind of lower the amount of work we had to do, we didn't do the special sets. Not to say that there isn't bad cards in those, there's bad cards in those. Without further ado, let's get started. Dark Dorito, a pendulum monster. Now this one's interesting because on the surface its effect's kinda cool. Its pendulum effect, all earth, wind, water, and fire monsters gain 200 attack for each attribute you control of those types. Alright, that's kinda cool I suppose, although it requires you to play an extremely diverse attributed deck, which is probably the main reason why we decided this card should be on the list. It does also have a monster effect, which is interesting I suppose. You take one earth, fire, wind, water, heart.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet!
Monster, and you from your deck and reorder them in any order you want. Now, the only thing that I could think of that you could possibly use this card in is Sylvans, because they have attributes all over the place and they like their deck stacked, so this is okay, I suppose. But we stuck it at number 10 because at best it's a lackluster Sylvan support card, at worst it's a bad Dragon Ruler support card. Unified Front, a normal trap card. Ugh, this thing's so weird. You discard one monster from your hand to target one monster on the field. The monster on the field's attack and defense become that of the monster that was discarded. Oh joy, you can turn your Sage into a Blue Eyes or your opponent's monster into a Sage. And all you had to do was neg yourself 2 cards for it. If they'd made this thing a quick play spell, it may have gotten off the list because it would at least have some versatility, but making it a normal trap makes it extremely slow, and negging yourself 2 cards to debuff or buff a monster on the field just seems really lackluster. There's equip cards that do that much better, and they're all frankly searchable, so this thing is very, very lackluster. Zany fucking Zebra. I swear, Konami, they troll us with these card names. Well, Zany Zebra is another pendulum monster, and it's a real great one at that. I was gonna kind of stay away from the talk of it actually as a pendulum card because I don't play them much and I never sound like I know what I'm talking about when I talk about pendulums. However, it is a scale 7, and the little I know about those decks, I know a scale 7 is super awkward. But what does it do? Well, once per turn during the turn this was activated and placed in a pendulum scale, you can target one unused monster, spell, or trap zone, and it becomes unusable. Now, if this card said once per turn you could do this, it might be okay, because you could slowly, over the course of maybe 3 turns, render your opponent's field pretty much cluttered and unuseful. But because you can only use this effect the turn this thing hits the field, it's pretty lousy and an entire waste of space in your deck. And the monster effect is exactly the same thing when it's normal or special summon. So overall, a really strange card. It might come in handy later, but I highly doubt it. Bad Aim. It's a bad card. Now, I really wanted to like Bad Aim, because it's kind of neat, I guess.
Neat.
When your opponent activates a card or effect, so pretty much when they do anything, target one card on the field, except the card that made this thing go off, and destroy it. Hey, that's kind of cool I suppose. It doesn't specify monster, spell, or trap, so you can kind of kill anything on the field, but it's still targeted destruction, which is pretty bad in the game right now, and it probably will forever be from this point. Not to mention it's a normal trap, so it's like super slow. Pretty much anything that's not a quick play spell nowadays is completely useless. And the fact that you can't pop the card that just activated is just extremely frustrating. So it's not even a trap discount version of Ghost Ogre. Now, I saw somebody try this in Cosmos, which I guess is cute, but the Metal Foes do that so much better, and you get something for it. You're not just destroying your Cosmo for the sake of it. So you could make an argument, but no, it's just really clumsy. Engraver of the Mark. Now this one's a little weird because technically it did come out in 2015 at the very end of the year in like the a special edition as the promo card, but it didn't get a worldwide TCG release until I think January of this year, so it kind of counts. Plus, the card's really bad, so it should be on the list. Sorry, Simu.
Why do I get sleepy after I touch myself?
It's a hand trap. Interesting. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card that declares a card's name, you can pitch this thing from your hand and declare a different name, and then the card that they activated is now using that card name. Frankly, I have a hard time hating on this card because that effect is at least interesting, and it's a counter to things like Prohibition and Mind Crush, which is not something we actually have other than this card, so it definitely serves a function, and perhaps in the future, when there is an archetype that does nothing but declare card names, this thing will be totally broke. But as it stands now, it's a counter to like 2 cards. Oh, it does have a field effect as well. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can target one monster on the field and destroy it. Wait, quick play destruction? That's pretty good. During the end phase of the next turn. Ow, boo. What? Why? This thing would have been okay if it had a quick play destruction effect a la a less restrictive Ragna Zero, but nah, they gave it a weird, slow, kills it next turn where it's not even going to be on the field because they're going to Synchro, Exceed, Fusion, Tribute, do Yu-Gi-Oh to it, so this will never resolve kind of crap. So it's just frustratingly slow and could possibly be good in the future, but no, it's bad right now. It's very bad. Dino sewing. Did you get it? Dinosaur.
Dinosaurs.
I hate this card. It looks stupid and it's terrible. It can't be destroyed by battle, which is a good thing because it's got 0/0 attack and defense, even though it's level 4. This card gains 1000 attack when an attack is declared against it. Oh, that's a period after that, isn't it? That means it's permanent. Oh, that's kind of cool. I guess you could play Savage Coliseum or Battle Mania and make your opponent smack into this a bunch of times, then turn around and hit him with a giant dino-so. And then they just had to ruin it. After damage calculation, if this thing declared an attack, all the attack boost it got gets reset back to 0. Oh, yuck. It's extremely slow. Might have been okay 10 years ago, but nah, this thing is ew. Cuban, like the cigars. Or Castro. Hey, it's a level 4 Thunderlight, which means you can use Ties of the Brethren on Denko Sekka and Thunder King Ryo or some garbage and totally summon this thing. Woot. Although there's so many better level 4 Light Thunder Floodgate monsters that are much more useful than this. What does it do? Well, once per turn you can roll a 6-sided die, and then either player can special summon monsters of the level of that result, which is cool, except we have a meta deck of Blue Eyes White Dragons, which are all level 8s, and last time I checked, you can't roll an 8 on a 6-sided die. But hey, ABC's Burning Abyss could totally get Shrek by this thing. Except they won't, because you have like a 1 in 6 chance of rolling the number you want, and a 1 in 6 chance of possibly rolling 4, which is presumably all the levels you're playing in your Thunder Stun deck, and you just locked yourself out from doing anything. So, the only way this card could be better is if it wasn't a level that you could roll itself, so therefore it could be placed in a deck that could use it. But no, it's self-defeating, it'll never get you the result that you want, and even if it does, is that going to ever win you a game? No, because a 1 in 6 chance means that 5 games out of the time you've lost, which means you haven't even gotten a single win in your Swiss. That's terrible. Now the only thing that's cool is that it doesn't last to the end of the turn, it's seemingly permanent, so every turn I suppose you could keep rolling numbers and eventually hit what your opponent is actually playing, but why would your opponent ever let you do that? Card of the Soul. Here's a card that I hate to hate, in that I think it's really, really cool, really, really interesting card, but it sucks. Card of the Soul is probably, technically, the most generic, versatile search card in the game. It can pretty much search any monster that we've ever printed that has an attack and defense whose sum is greater than 0. That is because, when you play this card, and I love the wording on this card, look at your deck. And if you do, you can add one monster from your deck to your hand whose attack and defense summed up equal your current life points. Which is kind of funny because you could literally play this card to simply look at your deck. That's a thing. But herein lies the problem. In order to play this card, you would have to memorize the attack and defense of every single monster summed up in your deck. Now, if all of your monsters were like the same attack and defense, it'd be easy, but they're probably not. But even if you could do that, which you wouldn't, you're gonna run into the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Starts with too many life points. I almost never thought ever I would make an argument that we start off with too many life points. If anything, with the OTKs and how much the duel lasts 3 turns, we don't have enough, but I digress. No monster in your deck is going to have a sum attack and defense of 8,000 except perhaps Cosmo Dark Planet. And even then, that's a deck that pays life points to do anything, so that is going to be totally dead when you try to use this thing. Which means that you can only use this card when your life points are particularly low, so that they actually hit a monster that you have, and then they actually have to hit a monster that you actually happen to have in your deck. So most of the time, this thing's going to be super dead, which is lame because it's a search card like Rhoda, which means you're going to probably want to play 3 of it in order to see it as early or as soon as possible so you can tailor your life points to search whatever card you're looking for. But hey, Wingo, it totally sucks. Graceful Tear! Oh, it's got the Graceful Charity chick on it. I bet it's broke. No, it's not. It's actually bad. And it doesn't even screw around. Add 1 card from your hand to your opponent's... Know what? I don't even need to finish it. This thing could say, win the duel, and that would be a terrible activation condition. Give your opponent a card? No. Now there's negging yourself, and then there's negging yourself. Spending 2 cards to get 1 is not good. But at least you spent 2 cards on yourself. Giving your opponent 1 of them is really trash.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
The only way that's remotely okay is if you give them something they absolutely can't use. But if it's something that they can't use, it was probably something you could use because it's probably your archetype card, so you just gave away a resource you desperately needed to play. It's like, hi, you're playing Blue Eyes, so I'll give you Union Hanger. Except I needed that Union Hanger to ABC. Damn. And for what? You gain 2k life points. Like I said earlier, in this game, we really don't have enough life points, except unless you want to play Card of the Soul. So really, 2k life is really not going to help because your opponent's not going to have much problem getting 1 more monster on the field in order to get rid of those 2k life that you so desperately needed. The ironic thing with this card is it probably would be better or at least more playable if it gave your opponent 2k life, because then you could play it in Nurse Burn, because you're going to give your opponent some derpy card like, I don't know, that rain thing that gives us both 1,000 life points, so if they play that, they're gonna, you know, take damage anyway. But nope, it doesn't even do that. Just for curiosity, let's check out them tips. I got Cataville Omen, Rome with Bergamot, and those freaking shitty drag daddies. Wait, what? Now the honorable mentions for this list are a little different than normal. Normally I pick a card that's pretty fitting, but didn't quite beat the other cards, so I kind of mention it just so that I acknowledge that I thought of it. However, in this list, I tried to stay away from in-archetype cards. Because a lot of times, cards that are in archetypes that are bad aren't necessarily terrible cards, they're just not particularly good for that archetype. And because they're stuck in an archetype, they're essentially useless to everybody else, so it's really hard to kind of quantify that. So in this instance, I would figure I would mention them. Why not? Up first is Cosmorning. Like I said, these honorable mentions aren't necessarily bad cards, they just don't seem to work very well in the archetypes they were personally stuck in. And Cosmorning is no exception. As a continuous trap that's already really slow, but anyway, let's keep going. Monsters destroyed by Cosmo monsters are shuffled into the deck instead of going to the graveyard. Okay, that's alright, I suppose. Sending things like other Cosmo monsters in a mirror match, or like, I don't know, Burning Abyss, back into the deck is a great way to deal with them so they don't actually float. Issue being that it has to be destroyed by battle. Ugh. Destroying by battle is an extremely unreliable way of removing monsters from the field, especially in a deck like Cosmos, which has no problem with spot removal. You can banish this card from your graveyard, and if you take battle damage with a battle involving a Cosmo monster, you can gain that many life points instead. Which, frankly, has much more synergy with the actual strategy of the deck, which is to pay life points in order to do crap. That's fine and dandy, I suppose, but hey, Forerunner does that much better anyway. Priestess with the Eyes of Blue. Priestess is interesting because she's like almost good, but her wording's really weird, and yeah, they screwed her up. During the other player's turn, when a card or effect targets this card, you can send this card and another effect monster you control to the graveyard in order to search 2 Blue Eyes cards. So I suppose alternate and regular Blue Eyes. From your deck to your hand. Well, that's annoying. That means you gotta send this and another card you control to the graveyard in order to get 2 Blue Eyes to your hand. Really, her effect should be target one other effect monster you control, send this and that monster to the graveyard to search 2 Blue Eyes, instead of when another card does it. What? Sure, you have cards in the archetype that allow you to target things that you wish to target, but even still, this is just seemingly clumsy, and when you have cards like Melody, this thing's extremely obsolete and just not good in comparison. Hey, and it can summon itself from the graveyard. You can target 1 Blue Eyes monster that you control, shuffle it into the deck, where it's exactly where you don't want it to be, and special summon this card. You can only do that once per turn. When she first came out, Ryan and I poured over and tried to figure out what the fuck she's supposed to do in the deck, but most of the time she was just a really bad play, and it's a shame because her artwork's kind of nice. Alright, number 1. The worst card that's come out in 2016 is Diclops. Diclops? I think it's Diclops. Doesn't matter, it sucks. As a level 4 machine, the typing's pretty good. It'd be nice if it was a light instead of a fire, but hey, you know, you can't win every battle. But that's about where it stops. It's another gamble card. Now, Konami does a really good job of making gamble cards, where they have really good effects if they go your way, but really, really shoot yourself in the foot and totally lose the dual effects if they go bad.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Normally, they're like flip a coin or roll a dice, and it's about a 50-50 chance to get what you want. Not Diclops. If the dice ends up as a 1, you get to look at your opponent's hand and discard 1 card from it. Hey, that's not bad. That's really, really good. You get information and make them go minus. Yes. Now, I don't care what the rest of it is. This is broken. If it's a 2, 4, or a 5, discard 1 card from your hand. Oh, so most of the results are actually you neg yourself. Well, what's 6? Is 6 good? Discard your entire hand. Discard your entire hand. So you have an equal opportunity to discard your entire hand as you do to actually get the 1 positive effect out of this thing, which means this will never resolve in your way. Now, I'm sure there's a card like Second Coin Toss, but for dice, that you could use. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure one exists. But are you really gonna run this card in your dumb dice deck? No. Are you even gonna play a dice deck? No. But if you did, you wouldn't run this thing unless you're playing ABC Dice. That'd be broken. Alright guys, that was the list. This one was fun to do because bad cards are always fun to read because you get to laugh at them and wonder what the fuck they were doing. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think of it, and let me know any cards I might have missed or cards that you think are just really bad that might be in the other sets that we didn't look at. I'm really curious to know. Let me know in the comments below, and remember guys, if you don't truly metal, who will? I'll see you guys next time.